high-profile person. We knew about the case of the 5 delegates. I'm talking about 5 because one was confirmed death. There were six of them. We know about the issue of the fund of Babylon because it's a high-profile personality. Was a president of Northwest Funds, Funds Union, House of Funds or Chiefs, and I think that there are a lot of people in that same situation. But then I want to go on the other side of the coin and look at those who are perpetrating this. The governor has called them thieves, but I think that that's too derogatory. Sometimes there are some words that you need to use in order not to have to aggravate a situation. We listened to, sometime in 2017, the governor of the Southwest region who called the Anglophone rats. And I think that there are some of those statements that we really need to develop restraint using them. Those are not statements that build. We are in a situation whereby we need to quell down anger. We need to remember that we are talking about kidnapping, and we are just looking at. You asked me a question: why? What crime did Senator Mundi commit? And I just want to reiterate. I talked about her working for the government. The second issue, there's the issue of war economy. Senator Mundi is looked upon as high profile. We have heard about the issue of ransom paying. You know that ransom paying raised money for capability. It raised money for the terrorist capability. If anything has been paid, I mean, we are hearing to tune of about 80 million or whatsoever. Well, we do not know, but we know for exactly as money has been spent.
To what?
Well, to the terrorists, because they didn't over. I mean, let us be objective.
You just talk. You say the governor should not use the word thieves, but you are saying terrorists.
I'm using the words of the governor. I mean,
yeah, but you say thieves. The governor even calls them thieves.
No, I'm using terrorists. Right? I'm using terrorists to talk about the issue of. I mean, the end of the issue of money being paid to them. Okay. That money is being paid for what reason? Okay. That money is being paid for them to buy more arms, right? That is what I'm talking about. If they ask for ransom, that ransom is to buy more arms. So I'm saying that in as much as we think that our senator has been released, there is something to it that more that meets the eye. Look at the military who came as clean as anything. I'm asking myself if they went and washed their clothes. They came from the war front. If they went and before they came back and presented themselves. So I think there is a lot to it that meets the eye. We should be very, very careful. I mean, we are just analyzing what happened. Even if we are saying money was not just the money that was used for this military to go to the bush, to go to Ashong and get this money, the Cameroonian taxpayers' money. You will not imagine how much was spent for the military to go. We are saying that we need to preempt some of these things, and that it is better to solve this issue than spend money on trying to catch up with what has been done. Okay, the damages are already done.
We hear Bakah Derrick is online. Good evening, Bakah, and welcome to today's edition of Prime Hour. How is Momenda today? Bakah Derrick is still not connected. Lots of connection problems. Network is not too stable. Dr. John Ako, we are talking about the situation of many more persons, maybe low profile, who may also be kidnapped and kept in some very, very disturbing conditions. Should we be kidnapping and keeping our brothers and sisters? Because this, like Dr. Ndimancho is saying, is making news because she's a high profile. There are many others who would be there until monies are paid.
Not really, not really. We are saying that maybe the diplomatic channel, remember you said, Ayabacho just said evening that it was a diplomatic incident, a diplomatic incident that led to her release, which means somewhere others, their deadline went above without meeting up with diplomatic needs. And so maybe that is why we're not really. Remember, there is the SDO, the DO for Batibo, that we have not seen up to now. And a lot of others, the fund of Babylon, like I just said here, others are still the 6 delegates. I don't know what profile we are talking about. And I still think that there is a change. I said there might be a change in the modus operandi, that they too, they will kidnap and then they will release. That is to prove equally that they are human enough, which means it will go a long way to launder or clean their image, which others have been taking as evil. They have done so. We saw the situation of Florence Ayafo It was not because it could not be talked about. It was talked about. The press covered all those incidents. It is just said, like people will tell you somewhere, that it was divine intervention. Divine intervention in the sense that even in the court, as we said, in a rescue mission, remember, we might still kill all those that were in our keeping, and then we abandon the arms and go us away. And so nothing of this nature happened to this woman. We are just saying that it is a divine touch, and that if this divine touch would have been what we have seen with the others that have been slaughtered, then there would have been a laudable effort in the sight of the various armed groups to bring peace to that area and maybe push the government that, but if these people could behave in this way, then they have become human enough. It could equally be an aspect for government to get into a sincere talk. For if they were that wicked, like we have said here, you cannot be killing your own in the name of liberating your own. It is really a fallacy. And if the government should think like Senator Regina is just saying here, that she is informing the government. She is informing the government that the war is real and that these regions are at war. Does it mean that she was not aware that there was war after successful killing, looting, and burning of villages? As a member of the Senate, what gesture has she even made? We have witnessed senators that have been taken to the rostrum to present the problems in the Northwest and the Southwest. Have we seen her one day standing out firmly? We must not wait for problems to touch us. It's just like we are talking about the high cost of living. That the fact that we eat in our glass houses, we have to think well of the common man. We need not face famine before confirming that hunger is real. Hunger is real. Fighting in the Northwest and Southwest is real. We need real solutions. And as I just said here, the members of Parliament and Senate have, National Assembly and the Senate have the power, have that mandate to push the President of the Republic, I mean the executive organ of the state, to get into a sincere, inclusive dialogue. It is simple. We have just called for a session. If they don't, an opening will be open for us to talk. And I said, we need to talk to one another as Cameroonians. People were surprised. There are a lot of incidents, political incidents going on in Africa. We are unable to tap and learn lessons. I saw the situation in Kenya. The president called and said he is going to support the opposition leader in the next presidential election. And it will sound so funny. This is a liberal society. And if we cannot talk to one another, then we are not ready to govern. The release of this woman may have come as the Messiah talking to Cameroonians that if she can be released, then we can do better. Is the war, has the war not killed enough of Cameroonians? This both on military and the civil groups. Can we stand up to the task and say we end it? The nonsense is too much. If we could end Bakassi and sign what we call a Green Tree Agreement, what of an issue affecting Cameroonians? I would like that maybe in the next session, if she's going to Parliament, we will need her testimony to be hardly written, recorded, and presented to the Senate. That this Senate should find a solution to the problems affecting the Northwest and the Southwest, because the problems are real. I want to thank those who have been doing it there, and I will not cease. Somebody like his Senator Melamoki Charles, whom have been going from their municipality back to the Senate and presenting their worries from one situation to another. Then you find others who are comfortably sitting in their glass houses in Yaoundé. After all, they can kill themselves. His salary is passing. The micro project money is available. So where is his concern? Next election, they will still be voted, not by their people, but chosen by the party. If we are voted to represent the people, we must represent the people entirely. There is a need for us to forget about our political lineage and protect the interests of, most often than not, the common man. The common man lives in pains because the political decisions are not right. Yes, it is always said that when two elephants fight, the grass suffers, but not when the elephant could be protected or prevented from fighting, and we still allow the fighting to go on. The common people in the Northwest and the Southwest have suffered enough. The release of Senator Regina Mundi should sing a song of peace, a song of reconciliation, a song of sincere inclusive dialogue, and why not the reconciliation of all forces.
How do we understand the reaction of other separatist factions like the IG of Sako and the others who are saying that the ADF is not serious, the ADF is pro-government, and that they are using the crisis to make money? You've read the accusations from left, right, center. How do we understand it?
I think this already goes to show you the kind of confusion that is within the Anglophone, what they call the Anglophone struggle. The daggers drawn. I mean, it's like each group is trying to show proof of the fact that it is legitimate and what not. And we, at the end of it all, it boils down to what happens with the Anglophone community in general. You know that we have come to be our worst enemies. When you feel that your brother is maybe trying to do something, I mean, that is going to help the society, you are the very one who goes and backbite, you backstab, and what some of this is the very thing that is happening with the separatist fighters. And you know, Tibo Nagi gave an advice, and because someone asked, it was on 90 Minutes, someone asked him what he thinks about the Anglophone struggle. What is his advice to them? And one of the things that Tibo Nagi, the former Under-Secretary of State for African Affairs, one of the things that he said was that until the Anglophones come together in a concerted action, they form a synergy, they understand themselves, they come and discuss closely as Anglophones to understand exactly what they want for the Anglophone community, they will never get anywhere. Because he himself, as a diplomat, he has understood that Anglophones themselves are not together. Now, you see what is happening, especially like in the Northwest region, the war that has even other boiled down and remain under the ground, and I mean, in the Northwest region. You understand that the Northwest region is as if it has been utterly taken over by the separatist fighters. Most Anglophone elites do not go to the Northwest. I mean, and that is why the few ones that go there, they go and they are in hiding places. They do not come out in public. I do not know why they have concentrated this thing in the Northwest region. You see, there are a lot of infighting. It appears as if even these separatist fighters have their own VIP persons in the Northwest and in the Southwest, whereby when you touch this one, this other group condemns and say you are not supposed to touch him. This shows that there is a kind of an understanding between some of the Anglophone elites with these people, whereby these people, they pay allegiance, some of our people pay allegiance to certain camps, which is not supposed to be so. I think that it is, we talked about this thing in 2016. It is an Anglophone issue. Now, some people have come and hijacked the issue, and now they are, I mean, it has turned to a war economy where the highest, I mean, they're looking for the highest VIP, I mean, customers to take, kidnap, and they pay ransom. I think that we need to be very, very careful. Now, it is a war against each other. If I start naming those who have been killed, I mean, among the separatists, we talk about General Ivor. Who killed General Ivor? He was still amongst the separatist fighters. Who killed the general in Kumbo? He was still among the separatist fighters. So you find that even amongst themselves, they are killing themselves. It means that they themselves, they don't understand them. I mean, they do not understand where they are going to. Either there are some people who are out of Cameroon, as we are talking about, some people who claim to be, I mean, the leaders. I mean, they are the leaders of the secessionist group because they are not Anglophone leaders, and who are bringing a lot of confusion. Each of these leaders wanting to be at the helm of the Anglophone struggle. You remember that we have what we call the IG, interim government. But it appears as if the interim government itself has very little to say as far as the Anglophone issue is concerned. When Sako speaks, Ayabacho speaks, or Capo Daniel speaks, or Chris Ano speaks. I mean, you find that a group of people, there's no concerted voice. Each person, giving his own point of view, each person condemning the act of this or the other person. I think that we need to know exactly. We have gone off track. I don't even think that we need to know where we are going to. We have gone off track. And I think that it is us, the Anglophone community, especially some of us who still have people who listen to us, especially and the media too. We need to queer down this thing. We need to speak against this thing. It is not an issue of coming on the media and trying to please some of these people who are in the bushes, like some of these people who keep on writing funny things. When you ask them to come up in public and talk, they will not talk. I think it's our responsibility to tell them that we have gone through enough. Like Rosa Parks in the US, we have borne so much for so long a time. 5 years is too much of a time. Our people are suffering, and we think that we will keep on putting them under untold suffering. Ordering for ghost town for 1 week, or 1 week. Kidnapping people, killing people. I think that these things, we need to calm down. That was not how the struggle was supposed to be. We can still pick up our pieces as Anglophone and be able to sit down and discuss. Let us not be carried out by emotion. Yes, we have lost a lot, but are we going to continue losing? That is the question we'll keep on asking ourselves. As someone said, I think that if somebody comes and hits you and you do not respond, that person carries the shame. And therefore, in as much as we condemn the fact that there are also excesses on the part of the military, we think that we too, we should be able to look at ourselves and remove the lock of wood in our eyes, because we are doing a lot of untold things. We have kept our people hostage. We have held our people hostage. And now we are taking VIP personnel. Some people do not have the possibility to pay even 5 million, which is ransom that they're asking for. Some people will remain and die in captivity because they are not able to pay. Madam Mundi is just lucky, and she's lucky, and we pray that we have many more lucky people like this. We pray that these separatists, the leaders who are there, come together in a concerted action and actually be able to save life. The most important thing we are talking about is save life. Remember when we started in 2017, there's a man of God who said he advises them not to spill any blood. And then the moment blood is spilled, we should know that we have missed out on this thing. And we have come to that today. It was like a prophecy that has come to pass. Now, look at the kind of lives that we have lost. We have turned to fight against our own people. My problem is killing our own people. We know where military barracks are. We know where the Janams and whosoever are. I'm not asking to keep that up. You are talking about war. You are fighting war. Because I understand that at the end of war, what happened is that, there are soldiers who rejoice, who go out to march, and say that, oh yes, we have fought the war and we have won. Go and confront those who think that they are occupying our people, the land. Don't take our innocent people. Our people are suffering, Mr. Leo. I think that we need to speak out on these things.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I don't care whether the president or government do something. All I know is that what the Amber has done to my family by killing and destroying my family and properties, even if this war finished today, Mr. Leo, I don't think it will finish in our family. Mu Zakari, writing from Vikovi Jakiri Subdivision. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to the panelists. Please, I wish to know, was Senator Regina Mundi released or rescued? Was her freedom due to military effort or diplomatic? Thanks. Deang Boom is writing from Menda. Greetings, Mr. Leo. War is when young people who don't know each other and don't hate each other but kill each other. For old people who know each other and hate each other but don't kill each other and shake hands at the end of the war. Exactly what you're saying, because those who are fighting, they're going to die. At the end of the day, peace is going to be restored for those who are giving the commands now to drink sour wine over either a victory or, Evening, Mr. Leo, we already know what goes on, but ADF and the government and the amount government gave to the ADF. Mr. N, writing from Bali. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I particularly like this topic today as I too share the joy of freedom of Mama Regina Mundi, but what keeps confusing me are the words used to describe her freedom. Some say she was released, others say she was rescued. Was she actually released or rescued? For I know these words do not mean the same thing. Can someone throw some light on these two words that are used to describe her freedom, please? I also noticed a lot of words in the panelists' minds that they are struggling to voice out, but seem to be afraid. Just an observation. Bonnie is writing from Boya. Enyo just did it again, depriving us of this sweet program. Okay, now, can we have a listen? Can we take a listen to... Good evening to you all. I am Derrick Foka from Kumba, new layout Fiango Kumba. Keep up with the good work. I would not want us to say what happened. Let us take the words from Senator Regina Mundi. Describe what happened, whether she was rescued, whether she was freed, whether she was whatever happened. Can we take another listen to her? Please, let us pay attention to what she says.
Your Excellency, and all the generals here present, there are times when a politician cannot talk much. As a teacher politician, I should not lack words, but there are times when the emotions are too heavy. I'm really overwhelmed with a concern for my release, starting from the presidency. In fact, I thank the head of state. I thank all the generals and all the military people. As they say in pidgin, story long, time short. What I have seen in this month, talk more. But just to let you know one thing, that our country is such that everyone is treated fairly and equally. There's a lady I travel with. I wish she were out of the car so that the governor would have seen her out of the and the military rescued her. So the military will rescue anybody. It's not just a senator that the military will go after to rescue. The military will rescue everybody. We met as prisoners. I didn't know her as such, but I know one thing: she is a Cameroonian from the northwest region, and the military could not have put a deaf ear to her. Okay, she's coming. I just want to say thank you. What I have seen in this month is not what we can talk here. But this country, this region is at war, real war. It is not easy. It is really difficult for the military. It is not easy. We shall. So we thank you.
Okay, I would not want you watching us to say we set or we should describe. You have heard from her. She first used the word she wants to thank everybody for her release, but later on said that she's not the only person that was rescued, but another lady that was rescued by the military, and that she was a prisoner alongside that lady. And she repeated that a military would not only come for the rescue of a senator, but other Cameroonians. That is why she wanted us to see the lady. But I'm sure there's the video of that lady. Can we see the lady the senator was talking about? There is the video of the lady who was with the senator. Who is said.
They took me unaware. They asked me where I'm going to, and I explained with my ID card. I was born in the north, so I don't know what they saw. So that's when they they covered my face, and I never knew where I was going to.
Okay, she also was brought back with Senator Regina Mundi, and then she ends up by saying that this country, this region is at war, and that it is not easy for the military. I'm playing this so that you get the words from the mouths of those concerned, whether we don't sit in the house and other places and we are saying whether it was rescue or it was released. She, the author, says she was released, but goes further to say they were rescued. So those are words that came out from her, but we should also understand the conditions under which she was talking. But she ends up by saying that the war is real. Dr. Aku, is it a wake-up call for almost everybody to sit up and make sure that things are brought to normalcy?
It is very, very, what I said is sad. It's sad in the sense that things affecting this country are discussed at two instances, the executive and the legislative. And if we ask her sincerely, as a member of the Senate, had she ever thought of addressing or talking to the government at this tone? It would mean somewhere that we must be the victims of a crisis for us to understand the pain or to feel the pains of others. And I don't want us to get into a lot of talk. Are we still seeing this particular government, the Senate and the National Assembly, ready and willing to talk the problem in the Northwest and the Southwest? And if at all, like they have been doing with other conventions, like they discuss the state budget and order the president to put it into use, like they discuss agreements Cameroon have signed with other nations and order the president of the republic to ratify, can they discuss and arrive at pertinent solutions that can set this particular country at peace and order the president to put such resolutions into activity? We have passed into what I have been saying several times, that we might have responded to pockets of demand by certain Cameroonians, but we have not solved a Cameroonian problem. The Cameroonian problem is the war we are fighting. The Cameroonian problem is the conflict in the Northwest and the Southwest that we feel like the things we did not talk or the things we discussed in Fumban are not supposed to be talked or discussed now. Those same things were discussed in 1972. It was not by war. It was not by arms. It was not by fighting. We all united in Congress and decided that the Federation of Cameroon will become the United Republic of Cameroon. It was not arms. If there is a reasoning coming over now, can we still go within the same channel? And I said, we don't need the son of the president to be killed to address issues that kill people in Golomeduka. We don't need the son of the general to be killed before we understand that there is a movement in the East. We don't need the president to be killed before we know that the people of Lake Nyos were killed. We need to respond to Cameroonian needs. We have the responsibility of members of government to answer to the plight of Cameroon until a solution is found. Then we can't sleep. I said something here. If we really love our country, if we really love a nation, if we are patriotic, as many will say, those who are more patriotic than others, you cannot be sleeping when your citizens, which you are supposed to lead, are in foreign countries in pain. That is why you will see an American citizen, wherever they are, if they are in stress in Korea, they are in stress in Japan, if they are in stress in wheresoever you can think on earth, the government, whether just one American, the nation is in shock when you kill one of them. In Cameroon, why do you talk of patriotism? Why do you even lead a nation if you can't have the consent of your people at heart? This woman at her age, the senator shedding tears. Some of us are bound to shed tears. We have never seen where our mothers cry
A mother cannot cry and the children stay on a standstill. We shed the same tears with her. But can we stop the tears of other women, children, parents of others, military people being sacrificed in something we could easily talk? There is a need. A release, if it can talk to those who govern the nation, it is more than a million package. It's more than the United Nations Treaty which this country has signed to respect the right of man. It is more than any church convention that Jesus had on earth to protect the life of people. Her release, I said, might have been caused by the timely interference of the Holy Spirit. And then it should be capable of talking to us. If we are Cameroonians, if we are people within a country, I should not only be a Cameroonian because I'm found in Boya. I should put the people of Mora, the people of Ndu. I should be capable of taking the people of Nanga and Boko as Cameroonians and come to them when they are in need. Are talking and are feeling, maybe within colleagues, on the table of a glass of wine. She will surely still, because the memories remain, that anytime she will talk about this situation, she's going to shed tears in front of elderly and very old people. Let the spirit of her tears touch the mind of the powers that be, and that we need to protect the lives of others. Within Cameroon, out of Cameroon. That is why friends of Cameroon keep on insisting that this thing can be talked out and that we should talk commonly as Cameroonians. Nobody is bigger than another. I have seen where the former president, in fact, the present president, Joe Biden, knelt on the ground for the son of George Floyd to tell him America is sorry. What a gesture. Do we need to get to court? Do we need to use a weapon to fight? There is a way we can say we are sorry. And we know sincerely what we can do. Let's stop this armchair rulers who are not leaders.
Okay, armchair rulers who are not leaders. What a way to describe what's happening. Now, Dr. Ndimancho, we are in a very, very tight situation. Okay, we are glad to note that Bakah Derrick is there. Good evening, Bakah. We are glad.
Hi, Leonard. A very good evening. I must very sincerely apologize for, I don't know whether it's my personal opinion or my position, but all the trials to be able to get hooked up to the programs that have been sufficiently challenging. I want to thank you for, this opportunity for this very important reflection which we have at hand. I think that the entire region, at least Bamenda Center, feels some degree of relief knowing that the respective senator is free. The very first point, at the level of the PCC, she's seen as a regular Christian. I can't measure how members of the Hallelujah Choir, where she is a member, feel. But if you happen to be a resident of the released senator yesterday, you would understand that there is some general euphoria, some general degree of satisfaction, irrespective of political leanings, following her freedom in safety, and alive too. I noticed that the very first person who was in that compound as a significant authority was the Archbishop of Bamenda, that His Grace Anglophone, who happened to be one of those who came out with an official document asking for her immediate release, and we think it was significant enough. Shortly after that, we noticed some reverend men of God who showed up, in her residence to be able to share in her pain. What I must tell you is that there have been stories she has shared herself, that put lots of things to question, and the general communication that we have around the incident. But the good thing is that Mama Mundi, as many of us and many other people call her, is that she came back from her detention or from her abduction, safe and alive. Between the time when she was declared released and now, there is a general feel of satisfaction. And I think that would have happened, like Ako and others are saying, there could have been a similar feeling should people who are taking into such areas are eventually found alive and healthy. You know, there is no reason for anyone to feel satisfied that someone has been killed as a captive or as an adoptee, but then there is always a general feeling of satisfaction where people find their freedom. I want to imagine, with my understanding, that governments are not churches or charity organizations or places where morals seem to be at the top of their discussions. I think that sometimes we need to give some caution to our political activities or the activities that protect these institutions, and not necessarily a consideration of political victory or some bravado, which many people see as a way out. I mean, to put it in more simpler words, it's important as a nation when we consider the morale of people, the general feeling of people, and their of a couple of other things, including human life, is concerned. The release of Regina Mundi is highly welcome, and like one of your listeners said, question whether it was free or it was released. There is a huge communication. I don't know whether to put it, a whole communication mechanism from all the structures to defend the fact that it was either free or it was released. And so in this context, including what she was able to tell her visitors yesterday and the press as well, I'm feeling a little bit reticent to share the thoughts, because we are on the ground, and sometimes the safety of reporters on the ground becomes an issue of concern. But this should not be the point of focus. Like Ako was saying, our point of focus at this point in time is how do we get out of this mess where we've been able to put ourselves for the past 5 years and counting. Because it is more about how many lives are lost these days and who is winning. But should that be the point? The point is, what was the problem? How much intentional efforts have been put in to get a solution, and how much of that solution has been gotten? I think this is where we should be looking at and where we should be going to from here as a people. Because to me, building a very successful Cameroon or a very successful country where all of us find ourselves should be how much of peace, how much of intentional action we've been able to put that satisfies a larger majority of the population.
Yeah, I want us to look at the rate of kidnappings in Bamenda. How secure the population of not only Bamenda, the Northwest region, if high-profile personalities like a senator could have been taken out in that manner? We understand that the fund of Bambalang is nowhere to be found till date. What is the reigning atmosphere out there vis-a-vis these kidnappings?
Well, one of the things I can tell you, Leonard, is that the city, I mean, more than 70% of this city shuts down before 7 p.m., something you guys don't know in Douala. And even in local areas, I mean, whether in other areas that seemingly were looking safer, where you could hang around, the city shuts down practically before it's 7 p.m. because people don't feel safe. If you sit around, a local joint by the roadside, you never know when you'll be expecting armed individuals to jump in and ask people to surrender their phones, their financial, their money in their wallets and all of that. So there's a general feeling of fear that is around the whole place. And a majority of this city, like I said, I put it clearly at slightly above 80% shut down before it is 7 p.m. because people want to run away from that. You know, I think you are not new to the fact that one of our colleagues, Frederick Takam, was abducted the other day. How he found himself out of that situation still remains a mystery to all of us. And his car is still, and this was not at about 7 p.m. So everything now happens even in broad daylight, and everyone is just too conscious. I'm sure here now, if you greet someone, like I'm moving and then I see someone greeting me, I'm not too sure of the person. Trust me, don't be surprised if I start running because I don't know the eventual reason for the greeting. That's how bad it is, Leonard. So it's no longer about who is responsible for this or who is responsible for that. But the fact is that this has come to stay with, this is staying with the people, this is with the people, and people are developing resilient strategies, you know, by every minute to see how they survive. So I think it's really scary. The situation is very scary. There are some places where you can't see anybody at 5 p.m. You need to be at the commercial avenue between 5 and 6 p.m. and you see everybody rushing home. It's like everybody is running away from fire burning and things like that, you know, because you never know what happens in the nearest 1 minute. That's how bad it is right now. And this only came to the limelight because he was a senator. There are lots of people who were taken out of their wishes to many places, and they manage themselves out, you know, like the two panelists are saying. They are sharing the right thoughts, you know, as to whether some other lives are more important than others. But I think that a senator is not an ordinary citizen here. And so the ordinary person is taken today. They try to manage themselves out tomorrow. Some never come back. Some it turns the way it ends. And that's just it. And that's just it. And that's how the people live. That's how we're living. You know, so it's a very serious situation. And I think that we have Prime R has become a very resourceful platform where if our authorities really think that we must get a way out, it's important to follow the thoughts that are shared here and try as much as possible to help, you know, to have more intentional reflections that can end this crisis, because people are paying up the road. Just to assure you that, it has gotten to the level of the administration. Somebody was telling me today, the city mayor actually told them in one meeting that before it is time to be in their house before it's 6 p.m. So if you can hear such advice coming from very top government functionaries, it's to tell you how serious the matter is.
Now, we know that we're going to, you are a journalist and myself, we're going to be digging deep into what possibly transpired for the rescue mission to have been successful. But you have had opportunity of talking to persons who have been kidnapped in Bamenda. Some, you say, have been released and others have not come back till date. What are some of the stories they tell you while in captivity? Are they kept around town?
Well, some of them, they talk about their ordeal. Lots of people talk about their ordeal. Sometimes you hear very interesting stories about the reasons for which they were kidnapped, because each time you are kidnapped, there's always a story as to why you are kidnapped. They always tell you a reason why you were taken, and you have to defend yourself while you are. Kidnap is a standard word which we're using, but sometimes some people tell you that, well, when they were taken, they were told that they were arrested, you know. So that also tells you another thing, and then you have to justify yourself. You have lots of people who have been able to tell me that, well, they were taken to the locations where they were taken to as business persons because they were selling some goods that are considered contraband, you know, and things like that. And they tell you stories and how much they've been able to cough out as families or as individuals to be able to get freedom. And so some of these things happen. And then you eventually discover that, well, anybody can be taken at any point in time. And that's what we're subjected to. So when we wake up in the morning, go out, and eventually return home in the evening, you are like, well, God, thank you for bringing me back home. And you never know what tomorrow holds, because eventually you have to go out. Some people actually share lots of stories with you, and they plead that this story should not go beyond, beyond this conversation. You know what that means as a professional journalist.
Yeah.
Lots of people who confide in you, and they tell you that, well, I'm telling you this because of my personal relationship with you. Do not tell it to another person. And sometimes you are like, how can we get around this? Because some of the instructions you receive while in captivity are always hard lines, and you cannot dare to want to share these thoughts with other people. So lots of people tell us stories, but then because of also professional secrecy, which is accepted everywhere, I can't share with you some of the things, the stories they tell us, because they appeal that this story should not told, and we end up not reporting for our news organizations.
Okay, thank you very much, Bakah Derrick, for painting the picture as it looks like out there in Bamenda. Northwest Regional Capital, where you are taking part on this edition of the program. From to you see the picture he has painted, very apt to see that it's not easy out there, because today we are talking about Senator Regina Mundi, the purpose for this program, but that almost everybody could at any point find him or herself in her situation.
Yeah, not like her. I don't know in the position of Dr. Ndimancho, but myself, it is 6 years. Since 2016, a kingsman of my caliber, a member of a community that is well known, that I have never missed getting to my village at least once a year, which is a duty I took over as a young man. And now I find myself for the first time, I'm in Cameroon. I'm not different from somebody who is in Dortmund, because I am in Douala, but have been unable to get to Malangfe for the past 6 years. It is painful, because I even tried if there is a way you dodge into town. A lot of people are doing so. You get to your own village, you disguise, you enter in the night, and you are living back in the night. There is that feeling of homecoming that we always have, that you come back from the city, for some time people have not seen you, you find a lot of people around you, mothers, greeting, and even a lot of blessings from that. That we always at times share a glass of palm wine, but we don't have this atmosphere again. People don't know what it has been called. These are what we call touristic attractions. For those of us who are here, we are able to be there. That's why I said in my outing that we don't know what the common man is going through. Those who have escaped their homes from the Northwest and now being found in areas that are not theirs. Can we feel what they are feeling? Yes. Those who have the means will tell you that living in Douala or Yaoundé is just but normal, that they have been to Paris, they have been in London, it's past 25 years in London, and I care not about home. Then we ask really, if you were born to live. There are a lot of things which I'm telling you that the pains, if a woman, I said, insists that the tears of this woman, those tears have been shed by poor mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters in the Northwest and the Southwest that have lost a member of their family, one or two. It is sending a message to us. I quite remember that Nelson Mandela said, if the liberty, if him becoming the leader of that great nation, the rainbow nation of South Africa, is to spill blood of one South African, then let him better stay in prison. People don't know what that means. It means even for the purpose of the military, we are not supposed to sacrifice anybody. We are rendering homes. We are creating widows and widowers. We are creating lifeless, how can I call, orphans. Lifeless people who move in the name of life. But you find them empty because one way or the other, they have lost a member, a brother or a sister. People will say, that is why I was happy that Derrick put it right. Senator Mundi will not refuse that the attention given to her equally must and should be her position in government. She mentioned it, that she will not forget the effort made by the government. He started where? The presidency of the Republic. He said from the presidency of the Republic. A lot, 6 delegates, what's become of them? A lot of that. And we are thinking, and some people are thinking, like they are saying, so if we should get into the son of the president, he's going to react. That feeling will be true. Because if we get the son of the president, obviously, it will mean the situation is real. So we look at the Mundi situation on the contrary. What becomes the position of the common man? So since they are not in government, they don't have anybody to fight for them or to stand for them, they will continue being sacrificed like those laboratory rats that are trying to test the efficacy of government machinery. Those who have done in training school in Maowobe are sent in these areas to learn techniques whether a bullet can really kill. We saw the impact of the consequence of the First and the Second World War.
when people understood that the bullet made by the white could equally kill fellow whites. It enlightens a lot of brain, and this is where we are. At the beginning, Cameroon had been thinking that we have a peaceful nation because Cameroonians accepted peace. Today, we tear the country again in pieces. We have called for war. We can fix it. Cameroon can be beautiful. There is a need to talk. And like some people said, we always like to take the second step before the first. I said, and sometimes I said, where dialogue has failed, we can still insist with dialogue.
Okay.
And only dialogue will win.
Good evening to you all. Johnson from Bengui. I believe what the man in brown is saying is that he wished the same efforts put into rescue Madame Mundi. They should do same for everyone and make sure everyone is same. It calls for celebration, but it's incomplete. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I am enjoying your program. God Love is writing from Balmayo. Good evening to you, God Love. Greetings to you all in the studio. Special greetings to the great panelist, Mr. Kum. Love your programs. Just don't know how you get the inspiration for your topics. I just pray and hope the messages reach the target and that action be done to ameliorate the state of things in our country. Remember that we all are same before our Maker. There can be no leader without followers. Let. Fai John is writing from Banyo. Good evening to everyone. I'm Acha Thomas from Wabane. If the government don't do something, the entire village may be killed. Okay, which village is that? Wabane. Good evening, Mr. Liu and your Leonard panel. I am Sir Chair Paul from Awing, home village. We are happy for the release of Comrade Regina Mundi. More still expected from our military. Also, the release of all the prisoners at Kondingi and other detention facilities across the nation. There is hope that an imminent general amnesty and a unilateral ceasefire should be on its way very soon. There is hope as set by His Grace Archbishop Andrew Nkea, also as declared by Senator Mundi that the Northwest is at serious war. More powers to your elbows for your good works. The award-winning journalist, Mr. Kum Leonard. Thank you very much. Good evening to you all at the studio. More wisdom and legends. Yakubu watching from Bafmeng. Yakubu Ice Bafmeng today. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and greetings to the panelists. Why is it that the senator is saying something but the governor is contradicting? She says the region is at war and is calling them to drop their weapons. Are acting drama or they are taking us, the citizens, as fools? Child, we have suffered. Calvin is writing from Boya. Legend comedy in USA when couples got up in the morning. Okay, this is unrelated to what we are discussing. Mr. Kum is just a shame. Okay, anything you write about which is insultive to any member of the panel, I won't read it. Good evening, Mr. Liu from The Voice. She was released. Good evening, sir. I'm enjoying the program and I appreciate your wisdom in answering technical questions such as whether the senator was released or rescued. Fonia is writing from Bambili. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Tatafood Pascal writing from Bangolan as the military is thanking the population for their collaboration. What shall become the fate of the dwellers because the military won't be there to protect the population, meaning the future is pregnant. Greetings, Mr. Liu. Please, let's be frank. Let us call a spade, okay? The senator said there is war in the region, okay? Tala is writing from Bomenda. We are talking about kidnappings. Many more are going to be kidnapped. It says that our government should preempt, but should the other side not also? Should they kidnap at all? What is a crime that is enough for someone to be kidnapped? Because whether we like it or not, what if the government says, okay, I'm staying put, should the kidnappings go on?
The senator said arrested, that they were arrested. That's her language.
I think
the other lady. Yes. The other lady said she was taken. And
she was taken.
Of course. Yes. We just confused with the usage of these words because people are traumatized. They don't know exactly which was the choice of what the diction to use. I think that's really where the problem is coming from. Yeah. I think since they started the issue of kidnapping, because when you say arrest, it means I come and see somebody. I mean, somebody has committed a crime, and then you take him for questioning. Take somebody for questioning is arresting. I mean, arresting deals with some legality also. So I think it is funny. These guys have never given us a balance sheet of all the kidnappings they have done for all this while. I mean, I think that they should give us a balance sheet. They have kidnapped this number of people. They have judged that. I mean, or except the kidnapping is really for ransom. I mean, because this is what we come to believe. Because when you listen to the person who spoke from Bamenda, I think that it is pathetic. It is really pathetic, Mr. Rio. And talking about preempting some of these things, I just want to take us to some kind of a little bit of conflict studies. There is what they call early warning in conflict studies. And when we talk about early warning is simply an act of alerting a competent authority about a threat of something that is going to cause havoc or that is going to cause conflict. It's a preventive action that we take. And I think that when we listen to Senator Mundi, and I said at the beginning of the program that perhaps it's divine providence. And I know you asked me why is divine providence. I said some of these things should happen at one moment or another. We have had things that have been corrected in most countries in the world, perhaps because a personality like this was touched. Now, I know that this mama will go down to Yaoundé next week with a very, very good story from somebody who has lived the experience to be able to tell her colleague in the Senate that this is what I felt. Some of you are just sitting in Yaoundé and talking about this thing. I felt it. I lived this situation. And I can I can actually, without any fear, tell you that we are in a situation of war. If we keep quiet again, it means that we are allowing these people to finish up this region. And perhaps in the next few years, we'll be left with 9 out of 10 regions in Cameroon. Let us be very careful because this war has concentrated itself in Bamenda. Most of these atrocities, most of these heinous crimes have been committed in Bamenda. I was talking about the issue of early warning, and I know that Madame Mundi is like a late warner in this conflict. Well, may not be too late. And in early warnings, usually we take the analogy of fire. We take the analogy of fire. And there are 3 things that we discuss in early warnings when we concern the analogy of fire. We discuss logs, that is heavy wood. We discuss kindles, and then we discuss the match. And we say that in a conflict, because a conflict actually turns into a war, and the definition we give to a war is that a war is a conflict that is carried on by force of arms. Yes, when a conflict has gone to the extent of force of arms, we call it now a war. And that is why we are calling now the Anglophone conflict. And it's not more a crisis, it is now a war because the arms are really into play. So we use the analogy of fire to say that we have logs of wood. You know how resistant logs of wood, they go with fire. And we have kindles. Kindles are some of these little pieces of wood that you use to light the logs of wood. And then we have the match. We are saying that sometimes it is good to always study to see whether the conflict that we are projecting, the conflict that we are holding on, is going to actually catch on the logs of wood or is going to actually remain on the kindles. Because there are some the conflict that remain on the kindles, whereby it lasts just a few moments and then it goes out. But once the conflict catches on what we call a log, a heavy wood, you should expect it to go for a long period of time. And this is what we had in the Anglophone region, whereby we thought that we are still dealing with kindles. We didn't know that it was going to be actually logs that are going to be lighting now, and the fire is on end. The conflict is on end at this particular point in time. But coming back to the issue, you know that the what we call kidnapping now is the charcoal, that people are ripping from the log of wood that is being burned on the fire. Because now many people are ripping from the conflict. and it's the charcoal that people now use as a byproduct from that wood. So I think that the kidnapping has come to, I mean, enrich a lot of young people. I mean, I don't want to really call it riches, because that kind of money that you reap from the blood of people. I imagine myself, whether if you build a story building, if you build a mansion, I ask myself how resistant that mansion is going to be tomorrow. Because I know they are making a lot of money. These boys, they kidnap, and just the kind of money that they call. I never heard of that money in the whole of my life. You kidnap somebody and then you're asking for 50 million. I mean, that kind of money, you see a young boy just asking for money like that. Just asking. And the most disturbing fact is that they want them to be paid in francs CFA. The very exchange money that they are saying that they don't want to use of the La République, as they are calling it. I mean, you see, this kind of a thing is giving us confused. We are confused about exactly what do they want. And that it brings us to the conclusion of the fact that it is not about fighting for the plight of an Anglophone. It is about personal gains. It's about personal aggrandizement that people are looking for. Because how do you, I mean, take people for no reason? It is when somebody goes and rich, and then you start telling the person, either you say you have not been supporting the war, and I'm asking myself, which war? You have not been supporting the war. Secondly, that you have caused this harm, or you have committed this kind of a crime. If it is a state in itself, let them put a kind of a court to judge people. And I'm sure that Madam Mundi was one of those courts, because she has come out safe. They judged her and they found that maybe that she had to pay some money, and she has paid and she's out of court. That is fine. This is what we are expecting. Not that you have that kind of a court where you say you don't punish somebody with death. You do not punish somebody with death, because that in the next moment you too, you are going to die. So I think that the most important thing is that, as I've said earlier, apart if this kidnapping is not for personal gains, then I really think that the people, these leaders who are actually orchestrating this thing, I mean, they should devise a different means. We have had people who have come peacefully. Dr. Aku talked about the coalition for dialogue and negotiation, which is something that, I mean, many people looked up to. Immediately that came up, that very evening that the meeting was finishing, they started shooting them. Other people started criticizing. So it is like people say that, some people think that if it is not me, then it is no other person. What kind of a kind of a society can we build on that? That we do not want to support. We do not want to actually come together and synergize effort to be able to demand what we want. And I still believe, and I say it fervently, I am a federalist. And I think that one of the best way the federalists should do, and they are going to do, is that they are going to come and group themselves, and we are going to follow the footsteps of Cardinal Toomey. We are going to group ourselves together and be able to put down the points on what we want. We are going to choose our own leader that we want. We do not want, social media leaders. We do not want people in the diaspora who are leaders and who will never step foot in Cameroon and who are sponsoring young people, and they are dying in the bushes. I know that many of them want to come out of the bush and they cannot, because they are being forced to be there. They are also thinking about their fate coming out of this bush. But let me say that we have the DDR, which is there to help you. So I think those who are federalists like me, I think we should be able to join hands and be able to put the government to task. We have done that before with the GC board, with the University of Buea. We have done that many times in the past. Why not now? I mean, we as teachers in 2016, we thought we are going to be able to use our chalk and our pens. We were going to use our voices that we use in the classrooms, and that we are going to put forth our own demands to the government, as we have always done. We didn't know that the moment we are going to trace this path for people to follow, people are going to hijack and even kidnap, because I know that the teachers were even kidnapped in 2016. That is why nobody is talking again, and because they have gone through untold stories. The lawyers were kidnapped in 2016. That is why they also went silent. And now the people who want to rule us, they are in the bushes. The people want to rule us. They don't want to come clearly. I even think that in medias like this, with Mr. Kum, they should come here and talk. That is our plight. We will be able to support them if they come out and even they put forth their own agenda and say, this is what we have.
Okay. Bakah Derrick, are you there? Hello, Bakah, are you there? Yes, Bakah Derrick is there. Bakah Derrick, Senator Regina Mundi was able to be rescued. Now, what is the population of Bamenda looking forward to in the days ahead? Are they impatient to see the kidnappings stop and eventually see the conflicts ended?
Well, to say the least, I'm not sure. People are expecting really much, from this, because to a large majority of people we've been talking to, it is a kidnap, which is almost part of our day-to-day, life, So, maybe just to say that Kum, if you look at Madam Regina Mundi or Senator Omar Regina Mundi, as the case may be, I'm sure she's one of those political leaders who had actually not found any reason to stay in hiding, despite her position, because she moved around town, sometimes on personal drives, sometimes to places on her own, because she knew that she was for the people, and she was generally accepted until that very unfamous April, or whether May 30, April 30, when she was taken. I think that generally the atmosphere doesn't look like anything is going to change, because everyone is like, well, if she can be taken, it means that any of us can be taken. This is exactly the feeling you hear when you move around town, because everyone is like, well, if this thing can happen to this other person, if this thing can happen to this other person, it means that it can also happen to me. So everyone it's almost at that state. Just to quickly indicate to you that as we're running this conversation, there were several gunshots I heard from my window, and I'm like, so what's happening next? You never know. So the conversation is no longer about what happens next to who, or whether this is going to end. Now people are just worried about how do they survive. What's the next thing? And so people are only developing resilient strategies around the city to see how they can go about all of this, because they are not seeing any solution on site. They are not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon, going by the modus operandi of our government, going by the modus operandi of those who are coordinating the revolution leadership, mindful of the fact that there are equally challenges, internal challenges amongst them, which need to be handled. But I'm sometimes surprised at how much our people are informed about some of these squabbles among the leadership of this self-determination struggle. You pass in several places and you hear people talk about it like A is quarreling with B, B is quarreling with C, and so on. So with all of that in mind, people just spend their time worried about how do I survive the next day? How do I get out of the next 1 hour? How will my kid manage to get to school and come back? How will I be able to go to church, maybe on Sunday, and come back unharmed? So these are some of the things that preoccupy people. It's no longer about it was a senator that was taken. Everyone is like, and so if it's that person that is taken, it means that any one of us can be taken. And this generally the feeling that you find around here, Kum Leonard.
You are saying that the people are living in despair. They don't believe that the government will readily solve the problem, and also do not see the separatists themselves, working for normalcy to return. They have given up on both sides. Is that what you're saying?
Generally, I have that feeling. I have that feeling of the people giving up. Generally, that's the feeling I have. Because you want to even, try to listen to people, or those who manage to even talk to you, they are like, it's just about us now. Because when they look left, they look right, they are not seeing any signs of moving forward. Because every side, or maybe you want to use the word both sides, because both here will be a little bit in quotes for many reasons that me and you know. Because you realize that on the belligerent hand of the revolt, you realize that even with different options. And so it's not just about both. In short, maybe it's about all the sides. Everyone is trying to prove how strong I am, how tough I am. And so the people are now like, well, they are the elephants fighting. And so we're the grass that suffers. And everybody is trying to protect their business. A is trying to do this. Since, truth be told, my experience for the last 6 years is that people don't need to wait to get confirmation whether the next day is going to be a ghost town. People just need to hear it as a rumor. If it's rumored anywhere, even by mistake, that is going to be a ghost or not, people just take the precautions not to be the victims. And someone is like, well, if I shut my shop for today, maybe the economy has dropped, lots of other things have happened. Maybe I was going to make less than 10,000. This is not worth my life. So once there's a rumor, people just go by that. This is just to tell that people are only developing resilient strategies, are no longer bothered about whether who's what or what happens to who is important. It's about resilient strategies. There's a general spirit of communism or community life that's beginning to disappear, that one's problem used to be another one's concern. I'm afraid that we are no longer at that level anymore. There is a lot of individualism creeping in. And the people like, I was in a conversation the other day somewhere, and someone was like, even if I heard my neighbor screaming that something was happening to me, I can't come out because I know that even if I come out, I might be killed or whatever thing that happens to be. So this is how serious the matter is. And so no matter whether it was a senator that was taken or who was taken or who was kidnapped or who was abducted or whatever the word is, anyone is like, well, let me try to see how I get my own peace. Let me try to see how I get my own detail for my family and how I try to survive. So it is important for all those leading from all the sides of this arrangement to try to see how well can the people come back to the center, because I am sure that a good number of them are losing the people. There's a battle over the population right now. If you listen to communications from every side, it's like, is the population that helps us to do this? And which population are we talking about? Is it a population in quotes, or the population that lives in permanent fear, in permanent despair, in this kind of permanent desperation that we are all living in this town? So sometimes you have this reflection, and then you come to the conclusion that it is just a battle for how do I survive the next 1 hour? How do I survive the next 1 day? It's not about painting a very gloomy picture, but I always say that there is hope, no matter how bad the situation can be, because our people still believe that, well, no matter the situation, not everyone can die. Not everyone can be kidnapped. Not everyone can be abducted. Not everyone can be arrested. And that's why you still have people who live here, and you still have people who are not ready to go anywhere. Not because they don't have the means. They have the means for sure, but they are still like, well, who else? If I go, where do I leave this place to? Who do I leave this place to? Kum Leonard. So it's just about that. It's just about resilience. It's just about survival right now.
Thank you very much, Bakah, for coming and talking to our audience today.
I regret that the lines were very bad from the beginning. I did everything I could to get connected, but it became very serious. I want to hope that truly when we have more time for this conversation, we can continue to have it. When I left, I was in the other side of Mankon later on this evening, and I was coming back to Nkwen where I live. And I realized that, well, there are some signs that the all is not gone yet. There are still issues that we can hang on to say that, well, if some more effort is put in, we can eventually attain some peace. I actually saw lots of children playing around Big Mankon, things that you don't regularly have in Bamenda. As you move across, you realize that there's some bitter life in some places, and you are like, well, people are managing to get along. So Kum is not all lost yet. People are living in desperation, they are living in fear, but they are still very hopeful. Thank you very much.
Thank you to say that when you get the picture painted by Bakah Derrick from Bamenda, there is that disconnect, and you ask yourself, who is fighting for which population?
Yeah,
because if people no longer, they live in despair and say, we are fighting for these people, we are defending these people, who is fighting for who now?
Yeah, he is in Bamenda. He's in Bamenda, and we need to equally be honest that somehow the government said if the people wish to stop the crisis, they should call their sons and daughters to come out of the bushes and drop their weapons. And sometimes the government again had complained that if the various factions or the armed groups are succeeding, it's because the population is supporting them. And so in one or two instances, government said it's now winning because there's cooperation from the various communities. And others who could do the example of places like Nkambe, who could do examples like Limbe and Boya, that they are doing well because the population is cooperating. Which means somewhere too, those who have been standing very strongly, you remember,
they will tell you that the population has been helping them. Where Amber is very powerful, it's because the population too is helping them to protect them from the military. And so he who was supporting the military yesterday, who gave information about where military were, or whether military is coming there tomorrow or not, or where military were giving information where Amber is, you realize that it becomes a complete taboo if the other person feels that he was cheated by you. And this is what we are talking here now. Those who think they have shared vital information to either of the camps, at the end of the day, have nowhere to hide. The last you saw what happened with women that were suspected in, I believe, Ndu, to have marched to a clamor and support the military for the actions done. They were tortured in the absence of the same military. So now we ask, which population are we counting on? The military is counting for information given, while Amber 2 is counting support from the same population. That's what I said here, that in a tussle between two elephants, the grass suffers. And I don't want us to think that the weapons we are using were meant for these people. We are thinking that the people we are killing are our brothers and our sisters. This is what I'm insisting here. My feeling and my fear is that this country might become extinct. Let's not go with something that will take us 30 years. People think it is a joke. If you hear the war in the Congos, we are talking of the situation in South Sudan. This crisis has taken more than 30 years, and they are still fighting. But we believe that there is no need to kill a Cameroonian, whether a military or whatsoever civilian. We can talk it out. We should come out of this dilemma that we cannot talk again. Okay. We have exhausted all our means. Cameroon is a better place. I've been telling people, the gods that created this nation, Cameroon, created it for a purpose. But politics is killing the nation. We should learn to talk to one another. Get into. I said it will mean nothing. We just celebrated 20th May. Cameroonians will be in deep shock, and I mean happiness, to hear that all those who were caught, a presidential decision, that all those who were caught linked to the crisis should be released by tomorrow midday for everybody to join and march together. I believe we would have been talking something else now. Even a kidnapping would have been talking something else. We need some gestures that comes in to reaffirm that really Cameroon is one and indivisible.
Okay. You listen to Bakah Derrick there. The population is at the loss here.
Yes, I mean, it's a pity, and Mr. Kum, a region that used to be bustling. I mean, food, life. I mean, I remember before 2016, we had the film industry that was coming up very strongly. We had, in terms of music and all of those things have gone back. I mean, so when I hear stories of this nature, and I remember the Baminda that I used to know, I mean, I feel so bad, and any other person feels bad. And I know that the Anglophone elite, those from that region, they also feel very bad because most of them do not go back home again. I've got a lot of friends out of the country. They want to celebrate their things now. They go to other countries. They pump money in other countries. Money that was being pumped back home. But I think after everything, as Dr. Aku said, all is not lost. I think that we should remember the story of the Israelites. When the Lord delivered Zion from bondage, it was all like a dream. And I think that sometimes it is high time that we will sing this psalm sometime. Countries like Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, we love enjoying some of those, their gospel music and whatsoever. It is because of the kind of untold life. I mean, their stories, they are telling their stories, the stories of war. We didn't know about this story. We decided to test. And I say that we don't test war because war knows no friend. War knows no enjoyment. War knows no school. War knows no party. I mean, war knows no brother or sister. And I think that we have come to terms with what war is all about. It's in time we pick our own pieces. We gather, I mean, rather than crying over spilled milk, can we not gather ourselves together now? Because when you hear those kind of stories from Bamida, people sleep. I mean, imagine those who operate their businesses in the night. Means that they do not more operate businesses. It is a pity. So people going to bed at 7 p.m. I mean, it is a pity. Means the town is dead. They are leaving the town to who? Who are they running away from? And we say that there is a military. Somebody said the other day that he sees that the military has taken control and things like that. And I say it's a lie. Why do we say that? This issue, we have to understand ourselves to know that we need to seek for peace, whether military or the voices. We need to seek for peace. Peace is needed in Bamenda, because if there is no peace, there will be no development. If there is no peace, people will not move on freely. And we think back in nostalgia about how we grew. And then we begin to ask ourselves, these boys have decided to destroy what we, after took years to build. You know, our own self-reliant development, community development, how we used to build our own, places. We build our own roots from our own sweat. How Anglophones, they used to be industrious. Look at what they are doing now on the other side of the Mungu. Everybody is coming and constructing this way. When are we going to invest back in our own regions? We are now investing in the very place where we thought we were running away from. So we think that it is time to speak soft words. It is time for people to actually develop restraint. It is time for those in the bushes to think that they have put a lot of people under suffering for so long a time. 6 years is not small time. It is also time on the part of the government to be able to speak some soft words. Let the President of the Republic call for a ceasefire. People have said many times that the President, I've never heard. But I think that it's high time the President at least call for a ceasefire and say he has listened to them. You have spoken and I've heard. And I think that the very energy that was used to release Madame Mundi, let that very energy, the beings that work with all the intelligence that they use, because they thank the population. Which population did they work with? That they cannot work with the same population to be able to dislodge these guys who are in the bushes and causing havoc. I think that they have proven to us that there is a will. And now that Madame Mundi has gotten the story, she is a member of the Senate. She is going to tell the story the right way now. And I'm sure that it is now that the Anglophone crisis, we are going to all together begin to solve that crisis, because everyone is touched. Even those in the bushes are also touched. How do you enjoy the millions that you ask for? When you ask for 10 million or 15 million they give you, how do you enjoy it? You cannot come out to town freely. You go and tie what they call a dashi and get into the bushes. How do you enjoy the 15 million they give you? Means that you too, you are suffering. I think that it's high time for you to come out and enjoy that life. Go to the nightclub, enjoy life. I think that this is what we are asking for. We are going to solve the problem of Cameroon. We all have understood that we, the Anglophones, they had a problem. All of us have recognized that. Okay. But the approach to solve the problem is where we are having a problem.
Okay. Thank you, doctors, for coming, Ndimancho, as well as Dr. Ako. And to you, Bakah Derrick, who took part from Bamenda, we want to thank Desmond and Eli for producing the program. And to you, Tabi Tambe Bryant, who supervised what we did out here today. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.